Aloha beautiful souls, and welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for joining me for this weekly broadcast podcast. This is Marissa Indigo of Divine DNA Blueprint Mystery School, here to share with you the Quantum Plasma Stream, our weekly broadcast. This is going to be covering Monday, January 6th of 2025 to Monday, January 13th, 2025. So in this particular broadcast, we're going to be covering numerology and really talking about the significance of that as 2025 is a 9-year, because a lot of those themes are starting to present in our experience. So we want to support you with navigating as much as possible, as consciously as possible. So we're going to be talking about numerology of the number 9 and some of the energetic currents of the week, bringing in some divine animal messenger totem support, which is lovely as well, and a general overview of the various themes of experience, more of the root chakra clearing that we are having, and some pretty significant gateways or Stargate opportunities for us to take advantage of and to really continue to do the deep work. So welcome. Thank you so much for joining me, for tuning in today. We're going to start with the number 9. So in numerology, the number 9 is considered to be a very powerful, transformative, and ultimately altruistic number. The number 9 represents the completion of a phase, really paving the way for the next. Right? Next, keep going. Could feel a lot like there's many different things ending, many different things beginning, and a lot of hoop jumping in a sort of way. And it's all about recognizing life's continuous ebb and flow, and the idea that each chapter prepares you for the next. And so when we say hoop jumping, it's a different meaning than in the old world. We are talking about being given continual activations or initiations to keep jumping higher in your evolutionary process, to bring more conscious awareness to whatever you are facing or dealing with or observing, and whatever is coming up also to be cleared, because this is all about clearing in order to make way for the new. And it's also a beautiful humanitarian energy here. People associated with the number 9 are said to be very creative, imaginative, empathic, and altruistic, also conscious and meaningful in their approach to life and setting goals that really bring fulfillment. While the energy of number 9 can invite us to be do-gooders, or those of us with the number 9 as our numerology are amazing do-gooders, the desire to help everyone can sometimes lead to taking on too much and forgetting to take care of one's self. So there's a great up-leveling of what is being asked of us, right? And so much to be responsible for in our awareness and how we handle and conduct ourselves, and also being a conscious creator being. Like, all these new skill sets are coming online. So another good image for this, this kind of mastery, but it's also intensity, is like spinning plates. It's like you're spinning all these plates at once overhead. You don't want to drop any of them. So we don't want to forget to take care of ourselves while we are experiencing such a dynamic use of our consciousness and of our energy and our awareness. I'm going to go more in depth on the number 9 because it is our year 2025, the year of number 9, and this will greatly support you because I'm sure you're already starting to see some of these themes come forth. So we were guided to go really deep on this and really keep the weekly podcast this week very simple again, because just these few topics are so deep and go in so many directions of how to apply this to our reality, that it's good to be very thorough in whatever we can possibly share to support you in really making the most of all of the potential here. So this is from my favorite book on numerology ever. It's Numerology and the Divine Triangle, and this is more of the occult numerology and the Pythagorean mysticism traditions of numerology. So it's all about the divine language of God that is numbers. So again, Numerology and the Divine Triangle by Dusty Bunker. Highly recommend it. Amazing to work with the numbers and the frequencies and even map out your life path. So 9 as a temporary vibration: changes, endings, charity, inspiration. Events take place quickly at this time with many stops and starts because you are experiencing a period of change and transition. As Paul Case says in the Tarot, you must make the final selection between assimilable material and what is rejected as waste. Eliminating the useless and separating yourself from past mistakes can be an emotional experience, for we often are reluctant to let go of the obstacles in our lives. If you cannot free yourself from associations and situations that are no longer necessary for your development, then the 9 cycle will do it for you. A vacation or trip would be good therapy at this this time, giving you time to think and separate yourself from the emotionalism you might encounter under this vibration. So it's important to note here that this is a very emotional year. We're going to continue with this emotional clearing, and many are just now starting to be invited to see their emotions and start to visit, right, and work with their emotions. So very important to just really let that sink in. And I'm going to go back now to the text. Many of your goals will be realized during this time, and you should attempt to finish all projects that are close to completion. As this is an ending cycle, do not make new commitments. Projects begun under a 9 have little durability. So you can run all that under advisement when it comes to timing and cycles of everything. You'll know like what is ready to be released, and could be working on many things in many different phases of gestation, right? But just want to point that out. And I'll return to the text. Present friendships can be cemented and made more enduring, and you may receive gifts from friends. This should be a charitable time in which you think primarily of other people's welfare. Do something for others in thanks for the blessings you have received in this life. An old friend or lover may enter your life briefly for one last encounter, but don't expect this sudden renewal to last. Since this is an ending cycle, you might change jobs or residence. Children may leave home for higher education or marriage, or begin their own lives. If you are separated from the people, situations, and locations with which you have lived for a long time, it is because they no longer serve your evolutionary process. Use the creative powers of this vibration to develop your artistic abilities. You will have inspirational ideas that can be used productively in the future in a way that the next cycle's number will determine. Don't be caught by your emotions. Hanging on to the past, wallowing in what used to be, can only bring discontentment, frustration, and depression. Rather, look forward with joy and high expectations to the future, for which the releasing energy of this cycle has prepared you. Use the wisdom provided by the events of this cycle to inspire your actions productively in the future. And the tarot symbolism is key 9, the Hermit. The symbol for key 9 is the Yod, the tongue of flame, the glyph that makes up every letter in the Hebrew alphabet. It represents the fiery energy, the life force in the hand. It's also an Aries ruled degree, so it brings in the Mars energy and that fiery, passionate energy. It represents the fiery energy, the life force, and the hand, open rather than closed, of man and woman. In the body, we are little serpents, containing a portion of the one source's fiery energy. As such, we are the hands of God operating in the physical world. The hermit is a symbol of ageless wisdom, standing on the mountain of attainment he has achieved. The snow represents the isolation he endures because his wisdom sets him apart from others. However, as he turns to shine his light on those who follow him, he intimates that our knowledge is empty and meaningless until we turn necessary and discarding the unnecessary elements along his path. He has learned to use the magician's wand, which he now leans on, for he knows he can depend upon it for support. He has achieved mastery. The astrological correspondences here, it says Sun in Virgo. The Sun is assigned to the number 9 because it is only after you carefully progress through the previous steps of 1 through 8 that you can attain a position of respect and leadership, as well as a full recognition of your inner potential. The true inner self is expressed under a 9 as you become the humanitarian, the universalist who reaches out to the multitudes to lighten their burdens through your understanding, wisdom, and compassion. Virgo's assignment indicates that careful, thorough analysis has preceded this final position of authority. Any mistakes along the path could have led the aspirant astray. Therefore, keen discrimination is necessary at all times. So I really felt like this breakdown of the number 9 is very multifaceted and covers a lot and shows us the depth and the internal work, the external work, the amount of discernment, right, and awareness. So this really is a year for mastery, and it has a wonderful potential for us all. It's like the deeper you're willing to go, the harder you're willing to work when we mean clearing, deprogramming, embracing your true authentic self, becoming a being of love, light that you are and have always been. It's all about the self-liberation. The deeper we're willing to go, the more amazing it's going to be. So if there were ever a year to encourage everyone to just say yes and go for it, go for the highest that you can be all the time in every moment. And we do that through a variety of ways, as you know, if you're familiar with my work, which is what we're going to get into now. So the energies coming up this week. So right now we are in this 0 point portal that started on the 31st of December. This is a very powerful portal, and you could feel a lot of squeezes and just really feeling like, wow, I'm really under a lot of pressure here to have more and more squeezed out of me. Many of us are overwhelmed with what is on our plate, so there's a lot to look at and receive information about, or to put down and wait until we get more information. And then the emotional responses and reactions, emotional triggering. So there's a huge opportunity now that's starting to come to a head really over the next few days. And it's going to peak on the 10th into the 11th of January. The opportunities to release even more of the old identity and the old associations, the way that we saw and conducted ourselves, the behaviors and habits, thought forms, belief systems, opinions, all of these concepts of self that were essentially built as like a porcelain mask in a response to our experience with the old paradigm and the initial life before the last few years and the last 12 years in particular. So we're releasing more of the false identity that was created in a response, in a trauma response to the outer realm. We're releasing deeper and deeper layers of perfectionism or control, guilt or shame, anywhere that throughout your life you ever felt embarrassed to be yourself. Some of the ways to define this energy are like those foot in mouth opportunities. Maybe you embarrassed yourself or someone embarrassed you, and you just feel that. That's a very strong feeling, to feel embarrassment or shame. And it's the opportunity to do some really deep root chakra work. So it's also surrendering where we realize that, talk about the false persona falling away. There are behaviors associated with that identity that were created for survival. So there's also a performative element here where we weren't really behaving or being our authentic self around certain groups of people, or perhaps all people. And this was a performance for others to ensure our survival. All of this is no longer applicable, this kind of holding up the armor or the walls. And there's a lot of the old identity associated with this persona, and also the corresponding behaviors and even activities, all kinds of stuff. So it's a fascinating time to continue to allow more of the inauthentic as it presents to fall away, and finding that balance now. We're surrendering that performance for others while finding our own internal harmony, and to really get into that deeply, to feel that and to source from that, and to exist in that energy inside in a very comfortable place of self-love and embracing ourselves and allowing ourselves to be ourselves. And then we share and socialize from that place. So this is very squeezy, as I have shared, as we are going through. It's like the eye of the needle kind of energy, or I always see it as we're being pulled through like a screen. If you imagine the screen that's in a window, but imagine that screen is like slicing you up, quantum, but you're getting pushed through that mesh screen and you're breaking apart into millions of little pieces. And then there's almost like an iron magnet on the back side of that screen that's holding on and pulling out the density. So only the authentic and highest aligned parts of yourself can come through onto the other side of this passage. And so the more that we can surrender and observe where we have resistance, or where we're hanging on, or also where you feel something hanging on you, it's like hard to let go of it, or it's hard to go there. This is the stuff we want to dig into, right? And so you might really feel this pressure happening as this continues to peak. So again, it started on the 31st and it's peaking now, and it's going to continue to just increase and increase. And we also have the X-class flares happening. I think we've had at least 4 so far in 2025, and it's all about a refresher. And so this is this massive cosmic reset that we're building towards. It's beginning to peak, and the alignment is actually going to happen now on the 11th of January. So on the 11th of January 2025, the entire globe is going to have a brief period of a unified 0 point alignment, and this is a potential to work with consciously. So imagine yourself pre-incarnation, pre this life. What was the energy like? What does that being feel like? That consciousness feel like? Who was it that pointed here to Earth from way out there, pointed down to Earth and said, I want to go to there. So who were we? This is this cosmic reset. Who were we? And what did that consciousness feel like before this density, this life, this body? You want to explore that? And we are encouraged to continue to keep asking this question over and over every day through the week, and to continue to allow more to be revealed to us and to journal about it and really enjoy this opportunity. So this is essentially a cosmic reset where we have the ability to consciously connect with our divine DNA blueprinting at a soul level, which is pre-incarnation. And so you imagine the energy, the infinite divine cosmic sparkle that you are, you imagine it before coming here and connect to that. And it's in the unified field before this body, this time and space, this earth. Before the separation, there was one. And so the opportunity here is to deeply contemplate this divine energy of source, of the source as us and we as the source itself, and to continue to connect with this sublime, expansive realization of oneness and to hold it as much as you can and to keep returning to it as you descend down, going through the clearing, going through the emotions, anything, as we share the other energies, other waves that you experience or may observe or support others through, right? Or in turn be supported through. So we're doing our best to hold this cosmic reset energy on the 11th. And as we're getting to that point, we are crossing more bridges, more and more bridges into new access, new consciousness, new understanding, new awareness, new love, new peace, all about the expansion. And so there's always more bridges. And the reason it can feel like a pressure container and very intense is that there are simultaneous crossings happening now as the quantum experience is here, whether we're understanding it or not, or what little we are able to understand right now. And so we're speaking of bridges. So imagine crossing bridges. We're using this as a visual metaphor to explain the rebuilding of our brains, the rewiring and rerouting of neural pathways that is happening, more and more connections coming online as our consciousness increases. And as our consciousness increases, well, what happens? That's literally the process of more light shining on more that was previously unknown. So as consciousness increases, then that means our consciousness of everything increases. So that which is pleasurable and that which is painful. So this is part of the great remembering and the sacred remembering, and also the release, that when we say the releasing of more of the identity, more will be rising out of the subconscious for you to say, oh wow, I remember that, but I can't believe I was still holding that. That's so not me anymore. It's so not true anymore. Thank you so much for showing me, and release it from your body and move on. So this is part of the connection now of how the photonic light affects our consciousness and thus our emotions, and thus clearing the density and the separation or the distortion from our bodies, the belief system from our bodies. We also have this powerful alignment happening on Monday, January 6th. So you see how everything is leading up to this on the 11th and after. On January 6th, Mars is officially back in Cancer in retrograde. So the best advice we can share is to prepare to align yourself before everything in order to find your center. You want to align first thing in the morning before you even speak to anybody, and you may have to realign hours later before you are having a meeting or going to have a conversation. It's very challenging right now to navigate this. It's really the energy where you would prefer to be in your cave alone. You could be very raw and irritable. So alignment is key to navigate this. And this is where we talk about, it's not about being perfect, but it is about being aware and doing your honest to goodness best, and honoring when you need alone time as much as you can. And the thing is, there are sometimes circumstances and situations where we can't just hide out all day and do the hermit energy all day, right? We have to work with a lot of people, all kinds of things about our lives. This is a very much, it's an integrated society, right? So it's doing your best to hold this awareness and understand that not a lot of people are going to have this awareness when you're out in public. And you may notice that. We've touched on some of these energetics of how unconsciousness responds to such intensity and such an emotional, sudden release of like suppressed stuff. So we're going to be consciously doing shadow work, and you're going to see people all around you unconsciously in their shadow. So the more we can hold that frequency of awareness and compassion, giving it to ourselves first, then we can carry that presence out into the world as way showers, as light keepers and lighthouses, which is another word for being a soul here. So it's important. Again, not about perfect. It's about being aware, made aware, say a prayer, and doing your honest to goodness best. Do not beat yourself up if you fumble with your words or you accidentally accidentally trigger someone or you are triggered. This is another week for the 4 agreements with Don Miguel Ruiz. So you may observe you or others could be very easily crabby or grumpy. And we receive the most amazing wisdom from the universe. So the universe has the best sense of humor ever. And we're so thankful for the divine comedy to assist us through this process. So over the weekend, I was driving. I'm going to put this picture in here. And I was already feeling like, oh, I could feel, I've got to be with some stuff, but I have to do errands right now, So I'm doing my best to do it all and just be present. Like, okay, I'm going to have to do some self-care and take some time away from myself and sit with this and work through this. So I'm feeling a little grumpy. And I'm headed home from these errands and I can feel like it's going to be a stressful day. It just felt intense. I could feel it in my stomach, just like, oh my God, okay. And I'm driving and what do I see in front of me? So in the left lane in front of me, the license plate says grumpy. And I start laughing and I'm like, oh my God, yeah, I was getting grumpy, universe. Yes. So I start laughing. I'm like, thank you so much for helping me to see that. And just, I don't have to be like that. I don't have to respond that way to myself or anyone else. It's not very fun. Okay. And then I see right in front of me, it says powered by the Holy Spirit. It's a sticker on the back of this windshield. And I'm like, oh my God. And then I heard universe say, pick a lane. Make sure you pick your lane at all times. Make sure you pick your lane. And I was laughing so hard. And I was simultaneously so thankful and appreciative that the universe is really supportive to put the messages in our face to assist us to be aware of our choices and our ability to consciously reset in every now moment, to remember and to choose the most loving and the highest for ourselves and others, that we always have the power of choice. And when we're triggered or going through it, it's hard to remember this, right? So this is amazing. So this is just the codes to remember to choose your reality, right? So we want to integrate our emotions. With this Mars and Cancer energy, you're going to observe massive inner child ego healing, coming into wholeness. So you may observe with yourself or others, reparenting the inner child will be very important. It's very important for everyone. If you're coming into these inner child wounding themes again, to consciously review where you didn't receive what you needed and to release the bitterness about that. And to no longer expect it to come from anyone or anything outside of you, but to become your parent to your wounded child, to do the quantum soul retrieval process and be that parent for your inner child. Become it now for you, through you. So there could be massive themes of the household, not being comfortable at home, family karma resolutions, and really it's about surrendering bitterness or emotional toxicity. It's about surrendering emotional attachments. So you may observe yourself feeling prickly or easily triggered, and just know they can come suddenly. This is like a lunar tide sort of process where all of a sudden you're very peaceful, you're fine, and then bam, out of nowhere the battle energy arises within, and you may feel defensive or argumentative or feel heat inside of yourself. And so conscious release of rage will be very supportive for anyone that's feeling rage. Like primal screaming is amazing. Let it out. Also, a rage room can be incredible if you have that kind of a opportunity of a business where you live or a safe place to do it at home. And so I call it the shatter catharsis. So when you break something that's aligned to break, when that item shatters, it assists us to break the energy. And you may even observe like people dropping things by accident, but then bam, when you hear that shatter of the glass, you can feel it energetically cut through programming. Also saging and smudging, physical activities like walking or shaking it off and stretching, and understanding that this whole emotional process is very powerful and that this is totally organic, this is totally natural for all of us to be going through these quite rapid now, quite rigorous up and down cycles of ascension and descension of awareness. And so you want to honor the conscious release of emotions or any kind of buildup that you're feeling inside. Breathwork can be very supportive of this. And so here we go, more root chakra clearing, everyone's favorite, right? Everyone's favorite. So this is deep, and just know we're all in it. You're not alone. So this is essentially the energy of the entire week, is to continue to do this root chakra clearing and the emotional clearing and the awareness and the self-care, the reparenting, and really working consciously with the energetic codes nodes and the lessons and the invitations and the opening and closing of cycles all happening with number 9, right? All this mastery. So now we get into the end of the week here, the 111. So January 11th, the 111 massive gateway cosmic reset. So this is why this process has been intense and continues to intensify. So the dials of destiny are going to change signs. We've been in the same energetic signature with the lunar nodes, the head and tail of the dragon. We've been in the same energy of the self and the self identity and clearing that self and embracing our individuality and our uniqueness and enjoying sharing from that place and having a harmony with others, with the other and everything outside of us. So that's the axis of Aries Libra. So we've been in this energy of the reformed individual and how that shifts how we show up and how we socialize for a year and a half. And so this 0 point now has been a continual stretch for us. We're in an ever increasing tension in this 0 point portal. And so you may observe a continual increase in energy, or you might even feel heat, anger, or intense frustration. You may feel pressure or this sensation of being coiled up in your tension, in your body, in your cells. So you want to consciously know this and move the energy out of your head and move the energy out of your body through exercise, tai chi gong, talking aloud with yourself. So a voice diary can be really great, or journaling, or speaking and venting and transcending it consciously with trusted soul tribe to keep working all the old density out. So this is where your conscious community, you can support one another. So on the 11th, an entirely new energy comes through. And so we talked about this tension, right? And this sifting and sorting and releasing and also embracing and being vulnerable with our true self. That's a lot of work. It's a quite stressful and dynamic, tense energy. So on the 11th, we receive an entirely new energetic. And this one is very feminine, very soft and watery, very heavenly welcoming, a very homecoming type of peace. And so if this can motivate you to continue to go through the more challenging and rigorous parts of this that are uncomfortable, imagine going from a stressful and dynamic tension to feeling the release valve or all the air come out of the balloon and it deflates and it's relaxed, feeling all the pressure gently emptying out to then feel relaxed and even perhaps blissful. So very shortly, on the 11th, we're going into the deep end of the unified field. So after this intense 0 point, this 0 portal, we're going to be entering the portal of 29, the 29-degree gate of Pisces. So we're going from 0 Aries to 29 Pisces. So this is a master degree, this 29 degrees in Pisces, a master degree of crystalline consciousness. And so the invitation is to really be motivated to do the work. Let us commit to doing the work. Let us make more space inside by releasing more of the tension in all ways. Whatever feels like an obstruction or a heaviness or a weight within you, in your field, within or upon your heart, release it. You could use ritual, burn ritual, movements, vocal commands. Wear yourself out physically if you have to. Sometimes we have to physically exhaust ourselves in order to just let it go. So whatever is aligned to assist you to get soft, to let it go. We are preparing now by releasing all of this old identity and allowing it to dissolve and stopping the behaviors and doing this neural rewriting, this bridging. We are going into our new and highest aligned future. We're creating it right now. That's why it's so challenging, because you're going against programming. So you have to be steadfast and very consistent, very committed. We're writing an entirely new sacred myth now for ourselves, our lives, and the world at large. And this is coming from an aligned, clear, and heart-centered space of awareness. We are true mystic dream weavers, and we are co-creating a new realm together. Why would we create or source from an inauthentic or an inorganic script that someone else wrote and they have their own agenda? Why would we source from any other script other than the one coming through us now for this dream? To be quantum coders and to code the field, we have to know the code. And so it is our job to clear the old continually in order to embrace this new updated frequency of information and understanding and co-creation. And so we invite you to please take your clearing seriously, to liberate yourself from any harsh energies within. And to assist you now with all of this beautiful, deep work, all of this content, all of this process this week, as we're continuing to rebirth ourselves, essentially, right? We have the most beautiful divine messenger here from the local forest that came to visit today. So later on in the afternoon, we just had to get out of the house, had to move, to continue to move the energy. And in the local sacred forest here, we were visited by several animals and mostly bird tribe, which was amazing to have the winged ones here. So we had the woodpecker figure come to remind us of timing signatures in these cycles and to invite us to remember to trust divine timing and to chill out with all the pressure that we feel. The frogs were singing to us to remind us about our ability to be multidimensional between realms, and also the idea of metamorphosis and the ability to transcend anything. So there's this morphing as we are shifting, metamorphosis, that we are transforming, and that we are in a new energetic environmental frequency that is here coming through. And that's why there's all this shifting and reactivity, a reassembly of our reality because of this high energy. And lastly, the beautiful messenger, so powerful and just totally, its hooting totally shook me and cleared me out from the core to assist me to return to this very primal, ancient peace and wisdom, to be able to clear cut through the bullshit and continue to shift inside. And that is the great horned owl. So it's absolutely incredible to have this experience with a great horned owl. So sharing now great horned owl messages from the forest to assist us to navigate this week, a dance between light and shadow, aspects of self, inner and outer realms, also the creative process and our consciousness process, the organic cycles of ascension and descension of awareness, conscious release of emotions or any buildup. And we'll share a little bit more about the owl. These birds love to sit quietly and still so that they can observe their surroundings. Therefore, the owl symbolism indicates that you may need to remove yourself from the noise of life. Take a moment to become meditative and silently observe your surroundings. Moreover, slowing down and becoming stable will allow you to assist the wealth of information and owl meaning that surrounds you. Whenever this bird is present, it will share its ability to see what others may miss. In other words, the owl meaning prompts you to open your eyes and honestly examine how things are. You will be surprised by what you can suddenly see. As an example, other people's motives may now become clear to you. External appearances will give way to the truth and meaning hidden beneath. And this applies to ourselves and bringing our subconscious into more light and awareness and not being frightened by any shadow that we see of ours. Alternatively, the owl symbolism comes to those who need to let go of some part of their life that is no longer needed. With this in mind, owl symbolism cues you to listen carefully to your inner voice and guidance to recapture the knowledge of your correct path in life. This bird's senses can pierce through shadows, beyond fear and darkness, through to the other side that promises light, happiness, and knowledge. And so we'll share, I was actually so excited because I was able to obtain a field recording from the forest here locally in the Pacific Northwest because the great horned owl was right above us. So we were hiking through the forest trails late afternoon, getting into early evening because it gets dark really early here, and could hear an owl in the distance. So we started hiking towards it to just be with it. And then we started to hear that it was actually communicating with another horned owl at a whole other part of the forest, acres away. And all of a sudden we found ourselves, first we were just seeking to be closer to the one, and all of a sudden we were in a triangle of them. There were 3 of them taking turns communicating back and forth. So we were in the middle of all of this, and they were collaborating and transmitting to one another, and it was absolutely so profound and very supportive to just cut through, like I shared, just cut through all the bullshit that I was dealing with in myself as we're continuing to just kind of trim away, more and more of these ego layers. So I'm gonna play this because it's so powerful in their download to receive wisdom from them in the sound current to assist us to dissolve even more of our human stories, our limitation, our distortion, or separation, or just being silly, right? So I'm going to be sharing their vocalizations now, and just please note that these are raw field recordings from the forest here. So here we go. such an amazing, amazing frequency. It's just so deep and powerful. I hope you really enjoyed. And to continue to wrap up here, this week it will support you greatly to work with the earth element and the physical sense of touch. Self-care, returning to and loving your body will be very powerful as we're doing a lot of cerebral and energetic work, traveling through the vagus nerve. And as we travel through memory, right, going throughout our DNA and these Akashic libraries in the DNA, we're essentially time traveling. We're going through time and dimension as we continue this clearing process of awakening and clearing and further into the ascension. So bring in the earth element, root vegetables or probiotics, walks out in nature. You want to rub your feet, rub your hands. Breath work can be really supportive to connect to your breath and to your body. And we have breath work here on the channel to enjoy. Spend time in quiet, observing plants or animals or the elements in motion. If you have the opportunity to be fireside and watch the flames dance as a meditation, just breathe and just focus your eyes on that, soften your gaze and just watch. Or with the water at the shore side. So watching waves, watching the movement of water or a creek. And again, just breathing and watching and just breathing and watching and just observing how these elements are moving. And great, exciting announcement. Our first live Zoom call of 2025 is coming up. This is Wednesday, January 15th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. It's going to be live on Zoom. And these will be roughly every 2 weeks, posted in the Awakening Our Divine Blueprints community. I'm going to be covering more in depth on the various energies that we discussed here, and we'll do group coaching together to work through and expand everything and expand it to the flip side. Details about what I'm going to cover or to register through the members portal in the description box below. And lastly, keep your eyes out for the January energy report and the 2025 annual energy report coming along this week as well in the podcast here. Enjoy these amazing and powerful energies, everyone. Keep honoring yourself and one another through the process. We may have moments of feeling quite raw and vulnerable, and just give yourself the grace, and everyone else, everyone's going through quite a lot right now. I'm going to leave you with Don Miguel Ruiz and his wonderful 4 agreements, an amazing formula for us to remember how to continue to return to our heart center and enter the new earth energy right through our conscious focus and intent. So here they are. 4 agreements. Be impeccable with your word. Don't make assumptions. Don't take it personal. And always do your best. So I'm wishing you an amazing week as we continue to go deeply into these energies. And just remember, honor this. This is very sacred here. An amazing time to be here. It's very challenging, but we are all coming into greater wholeness and mastery. And it's quite a marvel to observe and experience and even get to share. So thank you so much for tuning in this week, and looking forward to it all. I'll see you soon. Namaste.